everyone. Welcome to the Glow podcast. I'm here today with a very exciting guest. I have Michael from RESILIÉLLE, and I'm super excited to talk to him. But before we get started, if you are new here, we are Taylor Marketing, and we partner with organizations in healthcare, longevity, and the wellness space to fuel growth through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you are interested, drop a comment below. Michael, thank you so much for coming on today. If you would, I would love if you would just kind of go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the listeners know who you are.
Okay. We have a parent company to a number of subsidiaries that are in what we call Regenerative Biotherapeutics. The company's name is the Crowley Center for Regenerative Biotherapeutics, appropriately. And beneath that company, we have two companies. One is called Regenerative. Regenerative makes Wharton's jelly stem cells, and it sells Wharton's jelly stem cells and exosomes derived from Wharton's jelly stem cells to doctors throughout the country.
Awesome.
Now, that's the medical end of the business. We also started in April of 2023 a topical cosmetics end of the business, which provides exosomes from Wharton's jelly, derived from Wharton's jelly, for skin, hair, etc., used with procedures of all different sorts and kinds. We have about 1,500 locations in the country that use our products right now. It's a variety of med spas. We have a company called Forefront Dermatology, which is the largest dermatology group in the country. We're the exclusive provider of exosomes for them. We have about 280 offices and about 600 dermatologists. And the plastic surgeons, and a little bit here and a little bit there all across the country.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's super, super cool. And so for anyone who maybe is not familiar, could you just kind of go over a little bit of what exosomes are, kind of what they're used for at these different med spas and dermatology offices?
Sure. Exosomes are derived from or secreted from stem cells. Every living thing has stem cell or cells that secrete exosomes. So the world of exosomes is extraordinarily large. But the type of exosomes that actually can regenerate human skin or tissue or cells is a relatively limited number of things. Exosomes are, as I said, secreted from stem cells. And when they're secreted, they carry a cargo. It's a biolipid material that's nanoscale. It's between 30 nanometers and 150 nanometers in size. If something is smaller than that, it's not an exosome. If something is larger than that, it's not an exosome. And it's only in this relatively small range of what we call extracellular vesicles that exosomes exist and interact with your skin or hair or whatever it might be trying to rebuild. So you only get the exosomes that are powerful and potent and safe if you manufacture them correctly.
Yeah.
So the manufacturer of the stem cells is actually where you start to look at to understand where your exosomes come from. So stem cells that we make come from the most potent type of tissue that you can have. It's perinatal tissue, and Wharton's jelly is the inside of an umbilical cord. So we get umbilical cords donated and shipped to us within about 4 to 7 hours of the birth, and we then decellularize that Wharton's jelly. So there's only about 400,000, 500,000 stem cells when you decellularize it. The baby, however, gets an estimated about 12 billion stem cells from Wharton's jelly, and it gets a huge number of exosomes that are produced by that. And so Wharton's jelly is the material that makes you and I into a person.
Yeah.
It builds you from scratch. It builds us from scratch. Now, that type of stem cell, which can become anything, create anything, only exists prior to birth. Once you're born, the stem cells and exosomes that you get after you're born are adult, and they begin to age and do all the things that it can do. And so those age cells would come from adipose tissue or fat tissue is one source. Bone marrow is another source. So there are some human sources that provide exosomes. And like I said, every cell provides them. But you're looking for what is the best source of material for stem cells, because the exosomes are only as good as the stem cells are.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at this, I think it's universally confusing to people
Yeah.
even to use the word exosome, because
Yeah.
you hear about exosomes, synthetic exosomes, plant exosomes, exosomes from this and that and another thing. So in the world of exosomes, that word is applied to a lot of different things that have more or less what we call bioactivity. So the idea of bioactivity is that when you create the stem cells, when we build the stem cells up, the way that it's done correctly is if you manufacture in what's called 4 passages.
Okay.
Now, by 4 passages, we get about 400,000 stem cells. When we decellularize the Wharton jelly, we take those cells and we expand them and we grow them in growth media. So the way that you expand cells properly under international rules is just 4 times. So you would take the 400,000 that you get when you start and you put in a growth media in an incubator. They grow, they get too big for the incubator, you move them to the next incubator. Same thing, the next incubator, and the same thing 4 times. If you grow it to the 5th time, expand it 5 times, the original cells that are Wharton's jelly stem cells, or any other type of cells you're expanding, they become some other cell. They differentiate. They are no longer what you're trying to get. So the key to this as a purchaser and a user is to understand first, where do the stem cells come from? Because if they're coming from a source that's not a good source, your exosomes can't be a good source, because the exosomes are secreted from the stem cells that you grow in your lab. So they're grown in a clean lab under very sterile conditions. We have about 7,000 square foot ISO 7 clean room. It's a type of clean room. And we grow, in the last umbilical cord that we grew, the exosomes from, we got 2,300 trillion exosomes.
Wow.
Now that is a lot of exosomes. That's something in the neighborhood of 250,000 treatments at a med spa or a dermatologist. And in addition to that, we have about 30,000 trillion that are already tested and in storage waiting to be distributed to somebody.
Okay.
So in this world, the number of cells that you, or number of exosomes, is largely a function of how much stem cells you can produce. So if you can only produce a small amount, let's say 10 million, you're not going to get a lot of exosomes from that batch.
Yeah.
We actually,
Sort of buzzword where people are like fascinated by it, but they don't really.
they don't know what it is.
Yeah, they don't understand fully what it is. And then also, if you don't understand fully what it is, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between, like you were saying, everything is made up of exosomes, every like living thing.
Every cell.
Plants have them, people have them all the way from the time that they're born, before they're born, until we pass, so it's like there are so many different versions of it, and I don't think that, because it is a newer thing that people are talking about, they've obviously been around for forever, but it's a newer thing that people are starting to use in different especially cosmetic procedures. And so I don't think that people understand really what to look for.
The word exosomes has come to mean nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
Because in order to understand it, you kind of have to have this sort of explanation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't read a label and say, oh, this is Wharton's jelly exosomes, or this is, you can't do that. So, I mean, we don't sell to consumers directly because they wouldn't have a clue whether we were good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, we could explain it, but we sell to medical professionals. We don't sell it to anyone else at this time. Not because we can't, we could. It's just we feel at this point we would just be talking about something that nobody understands. Yeah. So the other thing is the FDA has been not very helpful in this field. Okay. A number of years ago, they sent out a letter to all the doctors, lawyers, and in between, saying that stem cells, period, and later they wrote another letter that said exosomes, period, are illegal in the United States to use. All right. Well, that's a pretty strong statement. I mean, the two main biologic materials that people use in regenerative medicine all over the world are in the United States illegal.
Yeah.
So let's back that off just a second. Being a lawyer, I've been a governmental compliance lawyer for over 50 years. So when you look at that statement, in the stem cell world, it is clearly not true that all exosomes, all stem cells usage by doctors and others are illegal. That's absolutely not true. It's particularly not true because there are two laws that were passed that enabled biologics, including stem cells and exosomes, to be used. One was during the Obama administration, which is called expanded access. That's a way you can use an experimental thing and go to the FDA and get approval to treat you. Now, it's not used that much, but it exists. But the one that's used a lot is so-called right to try. Now, under the right to try law, which was passed during the first Trump administration, a doctor and a patient can decide to use an experimental drug that has not been approved by the FDA.
Okay.
Now, that's not even reported to the FDA that you're doing this process, and the patient has to be informed of their rights and that it's not FDA. There's a whole series of things you go through.
Yeah.
But it gave doctors and patients and companies like ours the ability to provide stem cells to patients. Now, in Utah, in Florida right now, and I think also in Nevada, Utah passed a law that perinatal tissue exosome or stem cells and exosomes are made in low passage. It's the same way we make it. They are basically available to use for any medical purpose. There's not a restriction at all. In Florida, as of July 1st, passed legislation that said you can use stem cells, and it also has a thing about exosomes. But stem cells for pain, which covers a lot of ground. I mean, you're a lot of pain.
For sure.
They're very good at that. For orthopedic uses, which they use for injections and joints, etc. And for wound care. And they're extraordinarily good at wound care. So they changed the law, but in the federal FDA law and regulations and repeated in the Florida law is something that's sort of lost on everybody. And it says, actually on page 2, footnote 4 of the regulations on manipulation of biologics to determine if something is covered by the FDA or not covered by the FDA. There's a statement that says secretions, which includes breast milk and what they call cell factors, are not human cells or tissue. Now, by saying that, they're also not covered as a drug or regulated by the FDA. Now, when you look at the word cell factors, which is what it is, cell factors are exosomes. That's what exosomes are.
Yeah.
So in the statute, it says exosomes are not covered, but nobody paid attention to the fact. They only looked at it and said, well, it didn't say exosomes. No, of course it didn't. Exosomes are just a type of cell factor. So people miss that in general. The second thing is, if you have an exempt exosome to start off with, it becomes not exempt if you so-called more than minimally manipulate that material, because that manipulation could change the constitution of the material you're working with. And it's just a term of art in the FDA. But minimal manipulation is what we do with our exosomes. So minimal manipulation means this. When you have the growth factors left over after we've taken the stem cells out, we take that incubator and we take the material out of it, which is the growth material, and we take that and we literally harvest the exosomes. We don't change them at all. We take them and we filter them so that they're only a size between 30 nanometers and 150 nanometers. And if you look at a graph, they should be an average about 100 nanometers for your product.
Okay.
So we test that for all our products. We give you the Nanosite 300 test, but we also provide the transmission electron microscope test that show that we have actual exosomes. The other thing we've done and we provide to our clients is we have what's called the proteomics report. Now, until I saw the proteomics, to be honest with you, I wasn't that 100% clear on what exosomes were.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen what was, or even read what was inside our exosomes.
Yeah.
So everybody's exosomes are different, okay? Unless you make them the same way. So if somebody makes it just the way we do, our Wharton jelly exosome made in low passage, if you made them the same way, they would be the same product because they're biologics. But when you don't use the same material and you don't use the same manufacturing process, they're not the same. And I don't know what happened. We lost the signal somehow.
Yeah.
Well,
no, sorry. You're
okay.
Totally good.
So anyway, this process of analysis of what is the exosome it's not like one material. Each of these growth factors that are inside they do different things for different parts of your body. Like it's not just one big mass of material that rebuilds things. They're all tiny little growth factors, proteins, and all these lipids and materials. They all go into the cell, but they don't all necessarily regenerate what you're looking for. One could be focused on hair growth, one could be skin growth. It depends on what you need. Now, you'll see the same effect on hair that you see on skin, but the scalp is way different than your skin. So when we test it on hair, the results are quite different because, when you're thinning hair, it doesn't mean that your hair is thinner, actually. It means that instead of when you're born, you get 4 to 6 hairs per follicle. It means that you're now down to 1 or 2 hairs per follicle.
Okay.
So the materials that are designed to keep your hair that you have all kinds of side effects, as you probably know. I mean, all of them
Yeah.
have lots of, and some of them are really bad side effects.
Yeah.
But there are no side effects if you're going to regenerate your hair with exosomes. Exosomes are a natural product. They go into your scalp through microneedling or other the ways you can do it, and you rub that in. Those exosomes are going to go in and they're going to regenerate from the inside out by regrowing the actual original stem cell hairs. Your hair is going to come back like it was when you were a baby. It doesn't just pop out, sort of, but
Yeah.
it'll grow gradually. Like I had it done. I had a bald spot in the back of my head that I kind of was denying I even had
Yeah.
until my daughter wanted me to do it to see if it worked on an old person. Initially, I had hair growth and whatever, but it was really a year before it all sort of came back because all those little tiny little follicles that didn't look like anything are just like when you're a baby. And when our kids are born, we call them fuzz heads. They don't have a lot of hair. When
Yeah.
you get older, they have tons of hair. So it's kind of a process. The thing that is sort of critical to understand is that are you using a product that is covered by the FDA that's not being used properly? That's one question. Or is it something that's actually exempt and harmless? Okay, you
Yeah.
can do good. So why would our product be exempt? Well, look at this. If you're worried about something being a human product, right? Our exosomes are not a human product. They're acellular. They have no cell. They're not a cell. They're
Yeah.
not really living in the sense we think of. They're just this cargo barrier. They're immune privileged and they contain no DNA. So when the FDA first looked at it, they said this isn't a human product. Now, New York State, we're a New York State tissue bank as well. New York State clearly says exosomes are not a cellular tissue. Now, if you're
Yeah.
not a cellular tissue, the way that you can become covered by the FDA again is if you manipulate those exosomes when they're in the growth media. Now, if you try to expand those cells or you try to move them forward, that expansion is called more than minimally manipulated. Hard thing to say. If you just harvest them, which is just you filter them out and you vial them, and in our case, we vial all our product after it's counted and characterized in a little glass vial. That product is exempt from the FDA.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that you use it frivolously. I mean, but it is an exempt product. And it's a product that's perfectly legal to use in any way you see fit. We can sell it to consumers directly. And we're considering that. But the reason why we're sort of staying out of the consumer end is because we still haven't educated the people on the medical and med spa end.
I know. I was going to say there's like an education barrier almost because, like you said, you have to have almost like a conversation with someone like this where you're really explaining to them the differences. Even like just showing them materials is probably not enough.
Not
You know,
no.
it's hard for people to really get a grasp on how it works and also like what the differences are because that's I think really really important in this
Yeah.
space.
So we're telling professionals in the industry now, you don't
Yeah.
have to buy ours or not. That's not our goal. We created a way, and we have a company called Exact, which is testing products that are used, and that's a not-for-profit company that's off doing testing like we've been doing. The purpose of it is if somebody actually has active, potent product, fine, we'll tell you about it. I mean, that helps the industry. We haven't found it yet, but there's hopefully somebody out there someplace that's going to come
Yeah.
forward with it. But in the meantime, we say to them, if they don't provide you with an independent lab at a university or somebody has transmission electron microscopy, if you don't do a full professional report, you have no idea whether you have exosomes or not. If you don't have exosomes, you might have some growth factors, but they're not going to do a lot for your skin, and there's no lasting effect.
Yeah,
All the others are temporary. Like cosmetics are temporary also. But
for sure.
in this case, if you want to know what you have to actually ask for this. And if somebody says we don't have it, or we can't provide it to you, or we're about to do it, or whatever the case may be, that's not a good explanation, because you can send your product off for testing today, and you can get it back a week later. I mean, it's not like it's going to take you millions of dollars, and it's some expense. But any
Yeah,
manufacturer that doesn't spend the money to get it tested probably is worried that they don't have exosomes.
that's probably, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, there's a company I saw recently, and they said on LinkedIn that we have now done TEM testing on our exosome. Well, that's interesting. Then we said, well, let's see it, and they went, no, we can't show it to anybody. And I went, well, maybe the results of that weren't good. I mean, doing the
Yeah,
test doesn't mean anything. It's the result of the test, and so we know for other reasons that the test they had wasn't successful. But they said it was tested. So I mean,
yeah,
even think, if I saw it and was tested like that, I'd say, oh, it's tested. Well, that doesn't mean anything until you know if it was positive for exosome.
yeah. What are the results of the test?
Yeah, there's other companies now that are actually, I don't know if you've seen it, are selling what they call trillions of particles. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think so.
And some exosomes. Okay, there
Okay.
are companies out there, and so what happened was they got sort of called on the carpet because they were manufacturing product in a way that wasn't creating exosomes. So what
Yeah,
they did was they said, well, we'll sell the growth media, because in the growth media there are some exosomes, but they're not filtered out. So you're not
yeah,
only getting exosomes, but you're getting literally trillions of particles that aren't anything that are going to regenerate any part of your body, because the extracellular vesicles secreted and sitting in growth media have no regenerative power unless they're exosomes. So,
yeah,
so they say trillions of particles. They don't say trillions of particles that don't do a single thing for you.
yeah,
And we have some exosomes. You go like, how many? They don't know because they don't count. So
yeah,
it's a process where the industry has a lot, I would say the FDA in particular, has sort of always backed off topical cosmetics, because topical cosmetics are an area where, everybody knows that you're really not regenerating your skin, right?
yeah,
Permanent look. I maybe look a little better so I can go out to dinner with somebody, but it's not a permanent result. So they've kind of let everything skate that would be traditional cosmetics. But when you
yeah,
added biologics to the cosmetics and you say they're exosomes, well, the presumption then is, oh, now you have a regenerative product. Okay? So now you've taken what was traditional cosmetics by adding a biologic that actually can repair your skin. Well, if it's there and it's done properly, it's a whole new product. It's an entirely new industry. But if it's not there, you're paying for something that is generally fairly expensive and getting nothing in return.
yeah.
Now, when
So
people
yeah,
hear that they've been using a product that has zero exosomes that they paid $500 for, they're pretty teed off.
yeah, I would say so. I think it's really important, like just from everything that you've been saying, for people to really do their own research. And yes, it shouldn't be their job. These companies
No,
shouldn't
no, it shouldn't
be
be.
marketing that they have exosomes in their product, or they have these certain biologics in their product, if they're not there. It shouldn't be an issue. And also, like you were saying as well, I think the FDA as well should be doing a better job of really regulating for people and regulating for the
Yeah.
consumer and everyday person.
Well, you know that it's a simple process. Let's say there's hundreds of exosome companies, and there probably are. Um,
Yeah.
to test 100 products is a job. I mean, it's nothing simple, but it's not a
Yeah.
job that takes forever. I mean, we've done 13, did them in probably less than a month or so.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but why should it be cheap? I mean, you're talking about a piece of equipment that to rent costs quite a bit of money at a lab.
Yeah.
But once you're done, you've assured the people that it's the real thing. And so this exact oversight bureau that Aaron formed with a bunch of doctors, the purpose of that is not just to look at biologics, which there are, literally, I think it's literally thousands of exosome companies globally. It's a gigantic number. And
Yeah.
we were at conferences in Europe, and they had bovine exosomes, they had horse exosomes, they had rose exosomes. I mean, none of those have any legitimate reason to be put in on your face or in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a nutty thing. One person that put horse exosomes on their face broke out in all kinds of like boils and things. They ended up at 2 weeks in the
Gosh.
hospital because it's they're who knows how they're even made. So
Yeah.
if you're in a U.S. lab, okay, that's doing CGMP manufacturing, an ISO 7 or ISO 6 lab, clean lab, you're a good manufacturer. Your product should be safe. Should be. It should be efficacious, which means it's effective. And then you want to see, is it potent? Well, a lot of these products are safe. I don't think they're going to hurt you much. Are they effective? Sometimes a little bit, sometimes not much at all. And then lastly, is it potent? Well, if it's not potent, why are you buying it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, well, you would intentionally buy it. Now, if it cost less, let's say, and you wanted just a little bit of potency, but you only had $10 to spend, well, that's a reasonable thing. But the cost of the best doesn't cost any more than the worst products. Now, why is that true? Because we have so many exosomes. We want people to buy them. So we priced it, the same as products that have nothing in it,
Yeah.
because we have 30,000 trillion to sell, and
Yeah.
we're told that we make medical grade exosomes. We make more per month than the world makes in a year.
Wow. That's super, super
Yeah.
awesome.
Now this is what we do, which is commercialization of advanced technology. The advanced technology isn't an exosome or a stem cell. Those are natural. They're biologically identical.
Yeah.
But the process of manufacturing we created, which was to cure COVID and created a lot of product, that just inadvertently got us into the cosmetics industry. We
Yeah.
really had no intention of it. We're testing, we have a new cancer detection that will allow you to eradicate cancer stem cells. That's going on in a trial starting shortly in Galway University in Ireland. This is a license that we got from the University of Rochester's Cancer Center, Wilmot Cancer Center, and their Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine Center. And that's with Wharton's jelly. That's how we
Yeah.
got into this world. So we're in a very unusual company because every product we have is Wharton's jelly in some fashion or another.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. It's so cool too how you guys kind of got started in the industry. I feel like it's like a full circle journey for sure. So, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I really, really appreciate it. If you would, I would love if you would tell people what is the best way to find you, what is the best way to find
Yeah,
Resilié and the other companies you're associated with. I'll also put all the links in the show notes
yeah.
as well for easy
So
access.
the topical cosmetics company is called Resilié, and it's Resilié instead of Resilielle because I put an accent mark over it and screwed up the way you pronounce it. It's sort of French, I thought the French would be cool. But
Yeah.
so it's Resilielle,
Okay.
Resilié.com. And you can go to there and it tells a lot about us. The other company, which is the manufacturing company, does all the medical, which in Florida right now is where we're concentrating our efforts.
Yeah.
So Florida is a huge market. It's probably relatively close to being the second largest market for regenerative medicine in the United States. And I think we'll very
Yeah.
soon become the largest market because the
For
other
sure.
two large markets, which are California and Texas, they don't have legislation that enables people to actively sell and promote stem cells. But
Yeah.
we're also teaming up with a dermatology company called Sesderma, Sesderma. They're from Valencia, Spain. They're a large, long-standing company. It's formed by the leading dermatologist in Europe. His name is Dr. Gilbert Serrano.
Okay.
And so that's the Resiliate and Regenera, Regenerelle. So it's regeneralstemcells.com. Our
Okay.
company, you can find all the other companies. Sanatella Medical is the other one, which is SANATELA Medical.
Okay.
.com, and that's the cancer and wound dressing and a whole bunch of other things. So in the parent company, we've been doing all sorts of commercialization since I was a kid almost, starting in 1987. And my daughter joined me, Erin, which regenerated the company and myself because
Yeah.
I think I would have retired otherwise.
Yeah.
But so we have a company that we have our lab here in Rochester, New York. We employ about 75 people at this point in time. And
Awesome.
we're growing relatively quickly and we're happy with our progress. And eventually you'll probably see us in the stores someday.
Yeah. Awesome.
Not until we figure out how we can communicate this message more effectively than I have just done.
Well, I feel like just shorter form,
Yeah,
right? Where people, like where people can understand it in like a short 5 minutes because
yeah,
everybody's so busy now. So
yeah.
it's like figuring out how to explain this to people quicker and quicker as you go. But it is a complex
Yeah,
subject that
the
takes,
nice thing about your podcast, which I watch all the time, is that it's long enough that you can talk about something that's a fairly significant topic.
yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree. Well, thank you again
Oh,
so
it's my
much for
pleasure.
coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
All right, thanks. I'll talk to you
All
later.
right.
Bye now.